Does your license need saving? Do the wise thing. Call Wise Man Lawyers. Does your license need saving? Do the wise thing. Call Wise Man Lawyers. Don't face that court alone. Let the Wise Man team get you back on the road. Does your license need saving? Do the wise thing. Call the Wise Man team at Wise Man Lawyers.
Alright, today I'm at Holland Park Magistrates Court. Client received what's called a high-speed suspension. So basically he's riding his father's motorcycle, following a vehicle towing a trailer near Fisherman's Island. A rock spat up, hit him in the neck. So he's pretty much instinctively just overtaken this vehicle. As he's doing it, the speed limit's dropped from 80 to 60 and he was intercepted, exceeding the speed limit by more than 40 kilometres per hour. This also triggered a demerit point suspension, so we ended up with two suspensions, one 6-month high-speed suspension and a 3-month suspension / notice to choose. The first one, basically, the demerit point one, asked him to choose between a 3-month driver's licence suspension and what's called a 12-month good driving behaviour period. Even though he'd also got a 6-month high-speed suspension, it was vital that he did elect that 12-month good driving behaviour period in order to get rid of that demerit point suspension, because if you have another suspension existing when you apply for the what I'm about to talk about in a moment, a special hardship licence for the high-speed suspension, you'll be deemed ineligible to apply. So he got two letters from Queensland Transport, the 6-month high-speed suspension, the notice to choose. I instructed him, you must choose that notice, that 12-month good driving behaviour period, in order to make that 3-month demerit point suspension disappear, and then we were able to focus on the 6-month high-speed suspension. And with regards to that, I applied for my client, on behalf of my client, for what's called a high-speed special hardship licence. So with regard to that, I drafted about a 8-page affidavit. He was self-employed, so there was no employer to get involved. If someone's employed, I draft about a 4-page affidavit up for their employer to sign, talking about what they do, why they need their licence to do it, and the fact that they'll lose their license. Sorry, they'll lose their job if they lose their license. There was no employer, so I didn't need to do that. But that said, when someone's self-employed, the client's affidavit is far more substantial than it would otherwise be if they were employed. So I've got to embed my client's business's profit and loss statement into the affidavit. I need to talk about personal expenses which won't be met if the income ceases or is hindered, and obviously the business expenses that won't be met. Given it was a high-speed offence, I needed to go into quite a bit of detail in the affidavit about what actually happened. As I said, I've alluded to what happened. He's got hit in the neck with a rock spat up by a tyre, got out of the way, and coincidentally was intercepted as the speed limit dropped. I got him to do a reformatory course, which we get all of our clients to do. Spoke in the affidavit about what he learnt, and got him to get some character references based on the template that we give all of our clients. So basically, I drafted this affidavit in the lead up to the suspension date. On the suspension date, the application form and affidavits were filed at the court jurisdiction within which he resides, at the registry of the courthouse. They gave a court date, which was about 6 weeks later. The documents were then served on Queensland Transport, and Queensland Transport then reinstated his licence up until midnight the day before the court date. So with the exception of an hour or two on the first day of the suspension, when the documents were all being filed, he was able to drive right up until midnight last night. The suspension was basically paused upon filing the application with the court. So again, the 6-month suspension recommenced at midnight last night. We attended court this afternoon. I argued the application. Basically, I referred heavily to what 70% of the work's already done in drafting the affidavits, and the bottom line is, if what you want to say is not in the affidavits, the court will not and cannot take it into account. So the foundation is the affidavits, and I basically spoke about the content of the affidavits when dealing with the magistrate. Obviously, the two elements, or I shouldn't say obviously, but the two elements that must be addressed and must be proven to the magistrate are that, despite the fact that He's been, exceeding the speed limit by more than 40 kilometres per hour. He is, notwithstanding, a fit and proper person to be given one last chance. And the other hurdle is you need to be able to prove that without a licence you're going to suffer severe financial hardship. And once you've satisfied those two elements, the magistrate's then in a position to make a decision as to whether or not to grant your application. The long and short of it is, the magistrate was effectively persuaded on the contents of my affidavits. I did have to speak somewhat, but it was more a case of guiding the magistrate to items that had already persuaded them, rather than me having to beat my chest and go into some kind of courtroom warfare. That's not to say that there aren't applications where I do have to do that, but on this occasion, as I said, the magistrate was effectively persuaded by the contents of the affidavit. I simply had to guide them to a few key points. Anyway, short version, application granted. So he's been permitted to drive 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for work purposes only during the next 6 months. So literally for work purposes, it's if he has not lost his licence. The only things he can't do is personal things, so picking kids up from school, shopping, but I mean, that's to be expected. When you exceed the speed limit by more than 40 kilometres per hour, you need to expect some kind of penalty. But in this instance, that penalty was deemed to not include his means of earning a living. So, as I said, his business won't change. He'll continue on as if it never happened as far as earning a living goes. Client's obviously relieved, very happy. I'm Andrew Wiseman. Thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Andrew Wiseman from Wiseman Lawyers, Queensland's only truly dedicated drug, alcohol and traffic offence law firm. If you face loss of licence, loss of vehicle, imprisonment, or anything in between at any court in Queensland, we can and will help you today. This is our specialty. This is all we do. Give us a call, 1300 947 352. I look forward to helping you resolve your issue today.
Don't